If nobody cares, I do. Chapter 6 Minding My Own Business by BiWicked666. Summary: Izuku gets sick, so Katsuki has to go find some meds. He also crosses paths with a new character, so yay. POV: Katsuki. After Christmas, Izuku got sick. The first day, they didn't think much about it. It was just a small cough. They were homeless. It would be more surprising that they wouldn't get sick from time to time. But on the second day, his fever rose, and Katsuki didn't know what to do. He rarely got sick himself, and he never had to take care of anyone before. "Are you thirsty? Do you want some water?" Katsuki asked. He felt like he had asked that 100 times in the last few hours. And, as every time he asked before, Izuku whines and shakes his head. "Come on, just a little bit. Look, I'll even hold it for you," Katsuki says as he helps the smaller boy to sit and hold the water bottle on his lips. Izuku takes a few sips before starting to cough. Katsuki feels helpless. He fucking hates it. He can't have Izuku heat up too much since they're outside, but he couldn't let him freeze either. He feels like the fire is warming up the cave. He feels the fire warming up the cave. Izuku laying inside a tent, wrapped up with every blanket that they have except Katsuki's sleeping bag, so it shouldn't be too cold. Maybe it was too hot? What the fuck would he know? He's always a little warm because of his quirk. How much is too warm anyway? What if he fucks everything up and Izuku dies? Or what if he realizes that Katsuki can't take care of anyone else but himself and wants to leave him? He would never admit it out loud, but he has really started to get attached to the green-haired boy. Izuku interrupts his thought by letting out a small sigh. "You're really warm, Kachan," the boy says and presses himself at Katsuki's side. Katsuki sighs. He lifts the blankets and crawls next to the boy and pulls him in a hug, pressing his head on top of the green curls. The nerd makes some kind of humming noise and falls asleep quickly after. Katsuki waits long enough to hear a small snore. As he tries to get up, the nerd tightens his hold of him, so he stays exactly where he is. If being a space heater is what helps Izuku, he'll do it without complaining. Out loud, at least. If a few hours later, he lays awake staring at the wall. He can feel that Izuku is getting a little too warm, so he slips out of the pile of blankets. He puts his hand on the smaller boy's forehead when he notices him to start to pant a little. Fuck, his fever is getting worse. "Shit," Katsuki whispers and starts to pace back and forth. The pharmacy is really not that far away if he runs. He could buy some medicine, soup, and maybe some cold compressor sheets, and a lot of water since they were nearly out of it. It would make a hit on their savings, but the hospital is out of the question. They would get caught and they would be put in the foster system, which none of them wanted. So, not there, at least, until one of them would actually be dying. And let's hope it doesn't have to come to that. Before he leaves, he makes sure that there's enough wood in the fire. He also picks up one of his shirts and goes out to stuff it with a little snow before heading back inside. "Izu, I have to go look for the medicine for you. I won't be for long. Just try not to die on me, okay?" Katsuki says and presses the cold cloth on Izuku's forehead. "You come back, right?" Izuku asks, watching him. "Of course I will. Who do you take me for?" Katsuki asks. "You promise?" Izuku asks, voice barely hearable. "I promise. Now try to get some sleep, alright?" Katsuki says, making Izuku nod. He waits until Izuku falls back to sleep. Then Katsuki climbs out of the cave and starts to run towards the city. He notices that a few times when he's running, he starts to look behind him, almost like an instinct, to look that the nerd is still following him, just to realize that the boy isn't there. He lifts both of his hands to slap himself in the face. "Focus, you useless piece of shit." But as he is almost at the pharmacy, he realizes that he forgot one very important part. It was still a fucking holiday, in the middle of the night. The pharmacy was closed. Fuck! Katsuki yells and kicks over a trash can. They wouldn't sell cold medicine in a small 24-hour open store, and the old man wouldn't be back at the gym until 2 days later, so he didn't have anyone to ask for help. Maybe he could break in? He didn't want to, but what other options does he have? As he's in the middle of debating of if there would be cameras, he didn't notice a lean figure getting closer until there was a voice directly behind him. He swings his hand without really thinking as he turns around. His hit didn't land on anyone, but he notices a boy a few steps from him. He didn't look like much, but as he knows, you can never be too careful, so he takes a defensive position. I would try the back door if I were you. The front door has a security system that will tip off the police. But if you keep your hoodie up and your back facing the counter, the camera shouldn't catch you. The boy says. He's a few inches taller than Katsuki. He looks like he hadn't been sleeping for days, and his purple hair is sticking up, making him look like a troll toy that Katsuki found when he was little. His eyes are the same shade of purple, and they have probably the biggest eye bags Katsuki has ever seen. He's leaning over the wall next to him like he doesn't have a care in the world. Why should I trust anything you say? I don't even know you, Katsuki says, looking over at the smallest hint that the boy is going to attack. Because you look like you're in a rush, and I can help you, Purple Fucker says, now rising to stand. How could you, Katsuki looks over the boy, help me? Because, asshole, I can make the owner forget that you were ever there. Not for free, though. But hey, if you are not interested, the boy answers, trying to appear bored. That makes Katsuki narrow his eyes. How? Katsuki asks, and before he can say anything else, he feels his mind going blank. What the fuck? Drop your hands, Purple Boy says without moving. Katsuki's hands drop, which makes him panic. Touch your nose. Katsuki does what the boy orders. Bark. Katsuki does it, and it makes him furious. Then he feels him slowly get his body to function as he wishes. The pure rage makes his hands pop off small explosions. You motherfucker! Katsuki yells and tries to lunge at the boy, but then stops. Fuck, he might be pissed, but he doesn't really have time for this shit. He has already been wasting time as it is. That was my quirk. It's sort of mind control, wouldn't you say? So, like I said, I can make the owner forget. The purple boy says, if you bring me 3 cans of coffee, some cat food, if there is any, Kit Kat, and a bag of Cheetos. If you have that fucking quirk, why the fuck would you need me? You could just as easily go there and take anything you want and then make the man forget, Katsuki asks. It's such a hassle. And this way, we both get what we want. Also, there are people during the day, so it would be more difficult. The boy, as Katsuki decides to call Mindfuck, says, So, do we have a deal or not? I mean, as entertaining as this has been, I don't have all night either. Katsuki didn't trust the boy, not even a little bit, but it did sound like a relatively good deal, and it's not like he would lose anything more than he would by breaking in without his help. Also, if there's even a slight chance for him to get out of this without getting caught, why the fuck wouldn't he take the deal? Fine. Any more tips before I go in? Katsuki asks. Not really, Mindfuck says and points at the door at the opposite side. You can go in there. I'll yell if someone's coming. Katsuki lets out a small sound as he proceeds to break down the door by kicking it without making too much damage or unnecessary noise. He pulls up his hoodie and closes the door behind him. He quickly gathers everything he needs in a small bag he found at the break room. If he took more medicine that they could need right now, that was his business. It's not like he wanted to break in again. After gathering everything on Mindfuck's list, he heads out the door with a small and places a small amount of cash in the register. He might be a criminal when he had to, but this didn't mean he wanted to. After that, he headed towards the door. The whole time, he was ready to bolt by the sound of alarms, but the sound never came. Huh. So the mindfuck didn't screw him over? So, are we done? Katsuki says and throws the items at the boy. The owner walked past here before opening, so I made him forget, Mindfuck says and stuffs his thing in his bag. Katsuki turns and starts to walk away when he hears, "Nice doing business with you, Blasty." He doesn't turn around as he flips him off. After he is out of the boy's sight, he starts to run. He makes a few detours, not long enough to slow him down, but enough to lose the fucker if he's following. He arrives to the cave and breathes in relief as he sees Izuku, still sleeping at the tent. Fire's almost out, but he could fix it after. "Hey, Zu, I got you some meds. Come on, up you go," he says as he lifts Izuku in a sitting position. The green-haired boy blinks as he's finally woken up. "Kachan, you came back." Izuku clings up to his sleeve as the tears are starting to fall out of his eyes. Yeah, I'm here. Now open up," Katsuki orders and drops a small pill on the boy's tongue. He helps the boy to lift the water to flush the pills down. "I'm gonna warm you up some soup," Katsuki says and gets to work. "Okay," Izuku mumbles, already falling asleep. Soon after Katsuki finished feeding the soup to the nerd, he realizes how tired he actually is. He's been up for at least 48 hours straight, and he feels exhausted as he tries to get up to wash the dishes. "You need sleep too, Kachan," Izuku says and pulls him from his jacket. "Don't tell me what to do. I'm not even tired," Katsuki says as he tries to get up for the second time, but Izuku doesn't let him. "Don't lie to me. You can barely stand and you haven't been sleeping since I got sick, but I feel fine now. The fever is already going down and you got me the medicine, so it's okay for you to sleep. You did good. Now come on before I get up and knock you out myself," Izuku says, what makes Katsuki snort. Izuku narrows his eyes and actually looks like he's getting up. Katsuki raises his hands in surrender. Okay, fine. Just stay the fuck down. I'm just gonna put these away and put the fire out," Katsuki says. The whole time he can feel Izuku stare daggers at him, so he finally caves and crawls next to him. Izuku plasters himself by his side and Katsuki feels him slowly drifting away. Just before he blacks out, he's thinking if anyone has ever said that, "You did good," to him before. It felt nice. Chapter 7. Are there any smart detectives? Summary. Aizawa needs his coffee. He needs coffee. Like yesterday. Preferably the whole pot. He was so close to getting home to sleep next to his husband, just in time to get a few hours before the blonde would rush out to the radio station to start his morning show. But, like always, some asshole would interrupt his plans. Just as he was about to end his shift and leave, his phone had rang. He groaned. Fuck this. It's not like I'm asking the moon or something. Just a few hours of sleep. It was Sukachi. What a surprise. He swears the detective hasn't spent any time to look into his cases alone. He's always calling him even before he himself really knows what's going on, and it pisses him off to no end. The officer is asking him to go over to some small pharmacy where someone had broken in to, but had also left some money on the register. Great. Thief with a conscience. Well, at least the thief had some manners, Aizawa thought. Sukachi explained that they thought he might recognize the so-called shoplifter, like he knew every fucking low-life villains in this goddamn city. And even if he did, couldn't they still call it in earlier? Sukachi knew it was time for his shift to end. Yes, he also knew that Zashi didn't expect him to be home, even if his shift was supposed to end. But still, Aizawa was so often held up by something or someone that it isn't even funny anymore. How he got so lucky with a man like Zashi was beyond him. If Hizashi could hear his thoughts, he would flip out and yell until his ears bled. Luckily, the man just had a voice quirk. Shaking his head, he shoots a quick text to his husband and starts to jump from roof to roof towards the pharmacy. Hey, Eraser, sorry to bother you with this, Tsukachi says when he grunts and gets down to the ground. Aizawa just shrugs in response. So, what's the deal with this shoplifter? He asks and walks next to the officer. We're not entirely sure. The shop was closed because of the holidays. The owner was opening up as he noticed cash at the register, and before that he somehow walked in at the pharmacy, not noticing that the door had been broken down. There's also some missing footage from yesterday, so it could have been any time of day, Tsukachi says, looking as tired as Aizawa. What worries me, though, is that how does a man walk in without noticing the door isn't locked? According to the owner, he just opened it like he usually does, and he was sure that the door was fine when he got in. Tsukachi explains. Could it be some kind of quirk-related robbery? What did they even take? Aizawa asks as he examines the door. Someone had clearly known what they were doing. What he assumed was marks of a kick was aimed just in the right place. And if you don't have footage from yesterday, what says that it couldn't have happened after the man opened the pharmacy? If it was quirk related, he could have been brainwashed without really knowing, and he could have sold something to someone even before he opened the place. Aizawa says, Maybe, but we did find this, Tsugachi says and turns to show something on his computer. There was a picture of a small man, or maybe a child? Aizawa asks. Most likely, the size would fit someone between the ages of 9 to 12. He took some food, and as far as we found out so far, medicine for a cold or anything similar, and apparently cat food. Shikachi sighs. Why was there a kid that looked barely old enough to be 9 to 12 years old outside at night? Was he in danger? Was he sick? And where the fuck were his parents? Aizawa was somehow sure that the boy didn't want to do it. Otherwise, why leave the money? Surely the boy knew that he could go to the hospital. Or was there a reason he couldn't? He felt a headache coming and rubs his eyes. So this is all we have? A backside of a small child in a fucking alley at the middle of the night, and somehow you think that I would be able to recognize someone that age from a blurry, barely showing anything photo? I know that you're sometimes slow, detective, but I didn't think that you're also stupid. Where from would I know a kid that age? Aizawa says, clearly getting angry. He watches the detective go pale. Well, you know vigilantes, Tsukachi mumbles. Does that fucking kid look old enough to be a vigilante to you? Aizawa asks, annoyed. Well, no, Tsukachi says. Well, I guess we're done here. Call me if there's actually something that I can be helping with. But after I've gotten some sleep, if you wake me up for nothing, I'm gonna put cat litter in your coffee at the station, Aizawa says, heading towards the fire escape. He quickly climbs the roof and looks around. He didn't say anything to the detective, but he noticed something purple in the corner of his eyes, in the middle of their talk. It might just be his imagination and sleep deprivation. He glances around at the rooftop, but there was nothing. Maybe he was just seeing things. After all, it had been a long day. He feels his feet hit something when he steps forward. He picked it up to examine it. Cat food. So maybe there was someone here before. Aizawa sighs. But whatever or whoever it was long gone by now. Alright, that is the end of chapter 6 and 7. I hope you guys liked this video. I am so sorry for not posting for so long. I got strep, so I wasn't able to record. But if you liked this video, please comment, subscribe, like, whatever you want. I love interacting with you guys. And please, if you liked this story or if you like how it's going so far, please go and give kudos to the original author. They have done such a great job and they love interacting with their readers or listeners in this case. Anyway, I will be posting once a week with how busy I have gotten, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening. Bye!